When Cal Newport and I began working on our course, Life of Focus, one of my early assumptions was that the difficulties people had with focus were largely external. Interruptions from colleagues, pings from new emails, demands for meetings, and fast replies. Yet in working with thousands of students over the last few years, we found that internal distractions and resistance were far more common culprits. People procrastinated instead of working on their most important tasks. They initiated distractions, checking their phones or emails, even if it wasn't necessary. Sometimes even the thought that they might get interrupted would prevent taking advantage of a possible deep work session. These internal distractions have consequences. Look, the goal of a focused life isn't just to focus on work nonstop, but to be able to turn focus on when you need it. That way you can enjoy your life outside of work without worries about overtime or being overwhelmed. Focus is hard, but the difficulty tends to be located inside our own minds. Why is focus difficult? Well, I would argue that focus is difficult in precisely those tasks where it's not exactly clear what needs to be done next. Ambiguity kills focus. So compare writing an essay to replying to an email. Essay is much more ambiguous. Which topic should you write about? How should you begin? Which ideas should you include? The space of possibilities is large, and the first move isn't always clear. Replying to an email, in contrast, is usually pretty straightforward. This is why we tend to get writer's block and not email block. A similar logic applies to most of the deep work that matters in our professional lives. Hard, focus-demanding work tends to be ambiguous. In contrast, the routine work we check off the to-do list every day usually is not. The most underrated strategy for improving focus. Given that ambiguity kills focus, a key strategy for improving your focus is simple. Whenever you find yourself tempted to procrastinate, initiate a distraction, or switch to a more tractable task, just ask yourself one question. What do I need to do next? Keep asking yourself that question until you get to a step in the process that feels easy. So, consider studying for an exam. What's the next step? I should do some practice exams, but that feels a bit too hard. What's the next step? Well, I should work on the first problem in the practice exam, but it looks really difficult. What's the next step? Well, maybe I should set a timer for 60 seconds, and if I can't figure out the first thing to do, I'll study the answer to the problem and try a similar one. Okay, take writing an essay. What's the next step? Well, I need to write an opening sentence for my paper, but I can't figure out where to start. What's the next step? Well, maybe I should write an outline articulating the main points so I can see where I should start, but I'm not quite sure what to put in. What's the next step? Well, maybe I should try to brainstorm all the things I want to say in a random order and then try to reorder them into an outline. The idea here is to keep breaking down frustrating, ambiguous tasks until you get to a task that is so straightforward that it shouldn't cause you much of a headache. When you find yourself with another impulse to give up or distract yourself, make it a habit to repeat the above question again at the next phase. Cal Newport and I will be holding a new session of our popular course, Life of Focus, very soon. The link to get started is in the description below.